The Canucks are cruising to start the season. The Sens continue their search for a new GM while the Leafs are searching for their A game. Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of Off the Post. Rob Wong joined alongside by Toronto Sun Sports columnist Steve Simmons and Postmedia hockey columnist Bruce Garrioch. And guys, let's start in Vancouver where the Canucks are 8-2-1 to begin the year. Last season, this is a squad that started with 7 straight losses. It's been quite a turnaround, Steve. In your opinion, are the Canucks for real?
Well, I wouldn't have said yes, except they played Dallas on Saturday night, and Dallas is real, and they shut out Dallas 2-0. So you look at the Canucks right now, and you look at or any team. What do you need to be successful? You need an A center. They have an A center in Pettersson. You need an A defenseman. They have a Norris Trophy caliber defenseman in Quinn Hughes. You need an A goaltender. They have that in Thatcher Demko. And I think they have an A coach in Rick Tocchet. So you add all that together, this is the best team in Canada.
Well, and I totally agree that they're the best team in Canada. And Elias Pettersson has just taken his game to another level. I mean, the first 11 games of the season, he's got 20 points. I don't think there's been another Canuck who's done that in an awful long time. I guess the question is, can they keep it up, Steve? And that's where, it's great to get off to an 8-1-2 start, but if you fall off the map or your goaltending goes downhill, then there's going to be concern. And the other thing is some injury concerns. I've been very impressed with what the Canucks have done, but as who was the NFL coach? I'm not ready to crown them. That was Dennis.
Dennis. Yes, Dennis Green.
Yes.
No, but what they don't have is a lot of depth. And you can see that when you look at their 4 lines. I mean, you look at their 4 lines and it's like, I don't know if this team can compete with Vegas and Colorado and Dallas. And, those top teams at the top of the West are awfully strong and awfully deep. I don't think Vancouver's as deep, but when their best player is playing so well that great, he can do it a lot. He can make up for a lot of thin parts that are throughout the lineup. And even their second and third pair of D, you look at and you say, I don't know if that team can sustain that. But when you have Thatcher Demko in goal, one of the better goalies in the NHL, I think he can make up for things. And I'm super impressed with what Rick Tocchet's done since he's been there.
Well, he's got them playing disciplined, right? And I know we're going to turn to Ottawa next, so I'll just stop there.
Well, in Ottawa, Bruce, the Sens continue to search for a new GM. There seems to be a lot of familiar names in the mix. Where do things stand right now?
Well, I think that they're going to take their time, Rob. I think that there's going to be some interesting names out there. I do believe that in the end, I think it will be some sort of combination of Steve Staios and Ryan Bonus, but I think they're going to do a large search. And Matthew Darche of the Tampa Bay Lightning is a candidate. I believe that, I was told on the weekend that Sean Horkoff of the assistant GM of the Detroit Red Wings will certainly get a look. If they go the agent route, I think that's quite possible as well. They may reach out to some names there. There's a lot happening right now, though. I think what Steve Staios wants most, and I had a good chance to sit down with him Saturday morning for a half hour or so. I think what he wants the most right now is to get some stability because, guys, the heat is on high here.
And you look at the team and you look at the roster that Pierre Dorion left behind, and you look at it and you think, this should be okay. This should be a team that can compete in the NHL. This should be a team that's reasonable. Maybe not top of the pack, but certainly not bottom of the pack, the way they've played this year. So you look at that and you have to figure out, why is this team not winning? What is wrong here? And, a smart guy like Steve Staios and some of the other people that are still left behind in management need to take a deep dive as to figure out, where is this team? What does it need? Why doesn't it succeed? And while doing all that, find a general manager. And, there's a lot on the plate of new ownership, of new president. It's a lot to put on people while the season is in progress.
Well, Stephen, and just to add to that, I think, look, it's Saturday night here they were yelling "Fire DJ" at the top of their lungs with the owner and the new, president of hockey operations in the building. I'm not sure this is a coaching issue at this point. I believe that, they are without 6 players. They're without 3 of their top defensemen. They're without 3 forwards. They lost Mark Kastelik and Ridley Gregg. The Shane Pinto is suspended for, we've discussed, the gambling issues. I'm not convinced that Steve Staios thinks this roster has been constructed properly. And I think that's what he's trying to get a handle on before he makes any rash decisions regarding coaching.
And the one area, I go back to this all the time, but the one area Ottawa seems to mess up year after year after year is goaltending.
Yeah.
And I think they've done it again. I didn't like the Korpisalo signing when it happened. I don't like it now. And, you look in this division, if you want to be great, you better be pretty good in goal, because it's too tough a division to be weak in that position.
Finally, in Toronto, Steve, the Leafs have dropped 4 in a row. There's a lot of finger pointing going around right now. Brad Treliving's free agent signings have not panned out so far. How concerning is this recent stretch for the Leafs?
Well, I think it's very concerning. If you're Brad Treliving and this is your first year on the job, and your summer signings were Bertuzzi and Domi and Ryan Reeves, and all 3 of them, frankly, stink right now. They just played terrible. They don't know what to do with Bertuzzi or how to get him going. Domi's been a complete non-factor, and Ryan Reeves just gets scored on. I think he's been on for 8 goals against and none for. And so, the roster is incredibly thin when you go past the big 4 up front and Morgan Riley on D. They've add John Klingberg to those summer signings too, and he's been terrible. And so you look at this, and one thing that Brad did, and I'm not second guessing this now because I had this conversation with him before he did it, and I had the conversation with him when he did it. I didn't understand re-signing Sheldon Keefe. To me, if he was going to have a great season, then you would have signed him anyhow. And if he wasn't going to have a great season, which he's not having right now, then you have a chance to move on from the coach. Why he signed him for 2 more years, I don't know. But this is a very thin hockey team right now with a very strong top. But when you're giving up 4 a night, you got to score 5, and that doesn't seem possible.
Well, I will say one thing. I think the reason he signed him for 2 more years, Steve, is to remove the distraction. Covering a team right now that has a coach in the last year of his contract with the general manager fired, it's become a major distraction here. And we saw the captain, Brady Tkachuk, step up here Saturday night for his coach. One thing I know, Steve, the next time we talk, one of these 2 teams will be feeling good about itself because the Senators and Leafs play Wednesday night, and then they both head over to Sweden. So we'll see where this goes.
I wish I could feel better about the Leafs, but when you go back to the Boston game, which they played very well against a very good structured team, except for the not responding to the Marchand thing, which really set them back. Then they go into Saturday night against a struggling Buffalo Sabres team on a back-to-back for the Sabres. Every time the Leafs scored, the Sabres came back and scored. It was like playing ping pong. And you can't play hockey that way. You can't succeed when you have elite scoring, and Austin Matthews is scoring 3. You have to win those nights. You can't lose those nights to the Buffalo Sabres of all teams. Those are games you have to win. And if you don't start winning them, you're really going to get in trouble standings-wise.
Yep, as Bruce said, should be quite the Battle of Ontario coming up on Wednesday night. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Steve Simmons and Bruce Garrioch, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week on another edition of Off the Post.